Okay, this is my final video about top-down socks. I did one video for getting started, one for the heel, which included the heel flap, turning the heel, and the gusset. Since then, I've just knit around a few more times, so it seems like it's almost long enough. Usually the toe is going to add up to half an inch, depends a bit on your gauge. And I'm here at the beginning of my round where it has been. So now to shape the toe, I'm going to be decreasing similar to the gusset, but I'm going to decrease in 4 places. The end of needle 1, beginning of needle 2, end of needle 2, and beginning of needle 3. And those are basically at the edges of the foot when you've got foot in your sock. So needle 1, I'm going to start by knitting to the last 3 stitches. And then I'm going to knit 2 together and knit the last one. Needle number 2, we're going to decrease at the beginning and end. So I'm going to knit 1 to start. And I'm going to do my SSK, slip knitwise, slip purlwise. Left needle goes into the front, you work those together. And then I'm going to knit to my last 3 stitches. And again, knit 2 together and knit 1 more. Needle 3, we're going to do knit 1, SSK, and then knit to the end. And we're going to do a plain round. Round 2 is just knitting. Depending on the shape of your foot, some people do like to not do these plain rounds here or do fewer of them. We're just doing a mini sock as a little decoration or ornament, so it doesn't really have to fit. But you can play around with things like that when you're working socks for yourself to get a custom fit. Alright, so here I am at the end of my round, and I'm going to repeat rounds 1 and 2 3 more times. So I'm going to knit till I have 3 stitches remaining, knit 2 together, knit 1 more. Needle number 2, I'm going to knit 1, SSK, knit till there's 3 remaining, knit 2 together, and knit the last one. And needle number 3, we knit 1, do our SSK, and knit to the end of the needle, which is also the end of our round. So now we're down to 16 stitches total. We're going to keep going twice more till I have only 8. So first I've got my round 2, just plain knitting. Now we're ready for round 1 again. So we start with the knitting to the last 3 stitches. It gets really quick. Knit 2 together, knit the last one. Needle number 2, we knit 1, SSK, knit to the last 3 stitches, knit 2 together, knit 1, and needle number 3, knit 1, SSK, and knit to the end, which is only 1 stitch remaining. Alright, we'll do another round 2, plain knitting. And then our last repeat of round 1 starts now. So we do not need to knit to the 3 stitches remaining because we only have 3 stitches. So we're just going to do our knit 2 together and knit 1. I don't know if you can hear my little dog is out there barking at the trash truck. Now needle 2, we're going to knit 1, SSK. Again, we don't need to knit to the last 3 stitches, we're already there. And knit 2 together, oops, and knit 1. Needle number 3, we're going to knit 1, SSK, and we don't need to knit to the end because we are already at the end. So now we're down to 8 stitches total. I'm going to do 1 more round because we have our plain round that we want to have in there, and then we're going to graft these stitches together. Now, since this is a miniature sock and it's kind of decorative and won't really get worn by a foot, if you prefer to just gather these last stitches like you would at the top of the hat, you can do that. But in general, I prefer to graft toes for socks I will wear, and I want to show you how to do it too. So we're at the end of the round. I'm going to knit these last 2 stitches so that I end up with 4 stitches each on 2 needles. Then I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving about an 8-inch tail will be fine, and thread it up on a darning needle, and we're going to graft them together. So I hold the 2 needles in my left hand. You can see the yarn's attached to the back needle, which is perfect. And we're going to get started grafting on the front needle then. So this first stitch is just a little different because it's almost like the second half of what we'll be doing in the repeat. So I'm going to put my darning needle purlwise into the first stitch on the front needle, leaving it on the knitting needle. I'm going to pull that darning needle through. And I'm going to go to the back needle, go into the first stitch, and this time I'm going to go in knitwise. Again, leave it on the knitting needle, pull it through. So that's kind of our setup. Now we're into our repeat. So front needle, I'm going to go in knitwise to the first stitch. I'm going to slip it off the knitting needle onto my darning needle, and then go purlwise into the next stitch, that one that I'm going to keep on, and pull it through. Heading to the back needle, I'm going to go purlwise into the first stitch, take that one off, knitwise into the second stitch, keeping that one on, and pull it through. So the first one always comes off, the second one always comes on, and on the front we start with knit, and on the back we start with purl, which makes sense to me because this fabric stockinette stitch, the knit side is the front side. So starting our repeat again, front needle, you're going to slip 1 stitch knitwise all the way off the knitting needle onto the darning needle, and then just pass the darning needle into the next stitch purlwise, leaving it on your knitting needle. Going to the back now, I'm going to slip the first stitch purlwise off the knitting needle onto my darning needle, and then just pass this knitwise in through the next stitch. And be careful that your yarn doesn't get caught on the side here, so keep an eye on it. You want to pull it not as tight as possible, but pretty firmly. And we will repeat one more time here. So knitwise onto the first stitch, taking it off, purlwise into the second stitch, keeping it on, pull through, back needle, purlwise, taking it off, knitwise, keeping it on, pull it through. Now we only have 1 stitch on each, so we can only do the first step. So to the front needle, I'm going to go knitwise and take it off, and then the back needle purlwise and take it off. And then when I pull this last one through, I want to go really gently because sometimes you'll get like a little bump here. So you don't want to yank hard, just take the extra. And you probably still have a little bump here. Don't worry about it. What you want to do is poke the needle down, not in this space right below, but maybe 1 strand of yarn below that, and pull it to the inside. And when you pull this firmly, that little bump is going to disappear. So pretty much disappear. It'll disappear more with a little bit of stretching. So then you're ready to weave in your ends. And again, this is not a sock to be worn, so it doesn't much matter, but in general I like to weave in the ends on the top as opposed to on the bottom where that we stepped on. Turn this inside out. And along the top of the foot, I'm going to do what I tend to do, which is diagonal darning. If you have a different method, you're welcome to use it. But I like this because it will keep that yarn tail from coming out and also not get rid of any stretchiness. Tricky one there. So I'm going diagonally under these bumps. Usually get about 6 or 8 of them, and then pull it through, and turn and come down right next to it. You can turn the whole work around or just work upside down depending on what feels comfortable to you. And for something like socks, they're going to get washed and worn a lot, so I usually do a 3rd pass just to help keep that from coming out. I have a separate video that shows this technique in a bit more detail if you'd like to see it a little bigger and just on a flat piece with a bit more explanation. And then cut off the extra. I already wove in the end from the beginning because it didn't look good on the video. But you can see now we have a miniature sock. A nice top-down sock. It's got our cuff, it's got a little bit of a leg, just a few rows, heel flap, heel turn, gusset, the foot, and then the toe, which has been grafted at the end. So have fun. These are really nice to do with leftover yarns and use them for all kinds of silly things like making keychains, or if you go really tiny earrings or pins. You can use it as a cozy for things like lip balm or a thumb drive. You can, of course, see if they fit any dolls or stuffed animals that you might know, or make a little garland or ornaments. All kinds of things, and they're a nice way to use up leftover yarn. Enjoy!